Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person. Really delighted to have a chance to talk about my book, The XX Edge Unlocking Higher Returns and Lower Risk, which I co authored with Patience Maramé Ball. First of all, a little bit about my background. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, and I had my career at Kaiser Permanente, both as a clinician and also as a senior executive. And one of my jobs at Kaiser was to oversee our population care programs. And what that meant was that it was my job to translate medical research and clinical evidence into actual practice. And this is for those of you who have any experience with systems engineering, you know that this is like the most complex system there is. So when I honed my skills in performance improvement and systems change and left Kaiser in 2012, I wanted to apply all that I had learned to my new career as a philanthropist and impact investor when I started the Tara Health Foundation in 2014. Tara Health's mission is to improve the lives of women and girls. But we were unusual in that, in addition to our grant making, we also had a strategy across every asset class of our investment portfolio to also align with our mission. And that meant that in our private investing, in our debt program, in our public markets, we were always thinking about how to include gender analysis in our strategy. And we found that after 5 years, we were actually outperforming the market, not in spite of having a gender lens, but because we had a gender lens. And when I teamed up with Patience Maramé Ball in 2019 and compared notes, we wanted to write a book that would actually jump the fence and let everybody know, including the white men who were not paying attention to gender focused investing, that when they included women at the financial decision making tables across all aspects of the finance system, that they were going to have better outcomes, both better financial returns and also better social impact. When we looked at the markets, we saw that whether it was in microfinance or entrepreneurs who were taking out loans and they had lower default rates, or female CFOs who were able to show 6% increase in profitability, or the McKinsey report that showed that when you had gender diverse teams at the senior level, that you had 21% increase in profitability, that entrepreneurs were 63% more likely to have increased profits than male entrepreneurs. So putting all this together, we realized that we were really sitting on something important. We also know that the tendencies that make women important financial decision makers of being more collaborative, having a different way of analyzing risk, and seeing the long view and not sacrificing for short term gains are traits that show up more commonly in women, but certainly many men have these traits too. And there are also plenty of women who don't have them. We also recognize that gender is not binary, but these are qualities that are important to be sitting at the financial decision making table. And we certainly know that when a team is all of the same background, and most commonly all white men, that they're going to miss stuff. And that when you bring diversity to the table, you're more innovative, you see around corners better, you identify gaps, and you have a stronger, thriving organization. We also know that when you bring diversity to the table, it's not a zero sum game. You don't have to switch out the seats, men for women. That actually, if you add and you pull up more chairs, it grows the pie. And we see this in growth of the GDP or in the growth of the labor market when women entered the workforce. That it doesn't mean that men were leaving the workforce. It just means that there's more productivity and more for everybody. So this is not a zero sum game. This is about more pie. The other thing that we saw was that if you don't take gender into consideration and if you don't bring women to the table or people with more diverse backgrounds to the table, that there's actually a risk of instability, whether you're talking about at the government level or in a public company or a private company, that you miss things. Maybe you have an all male senior leadership team and you're more likely to have sexual harassment claims, or there's innovations and gaps that you miss because you're not analyzing the market properly. So these are all things that we all need to consider, not just the women who have been doing this gender focused work for decades, but everybody needs to take these things into consideration. And after writing the book, Patience and I wanted to understand what was the best opportunity to turn this book into a campaign, into a movement. We've identified that the most pivotal place to add diversity is at the fund manager level. This is the place that's the least diversified right now. and actually has been stuck. We know that only 14% of fund managers are women, and women fund managers tend to manage a much smaller portfolio. We've launched the Diverse Investing Collective. Our goal is to increase the amount of assets managed by gender and racially diverse teams to 33% by 2033. So our tagline is 33 by 33. We hope you'll recognize that this is a huge opportunity to change the system of finance to be one that's more diverse, one that brings more financial returns for everybody, better social impact for everybody, and grows the pie. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today.